Okay, just making a little video for anybody interested in how I made the plexiglass windshields. There's been so many people asking me for different things, smoked glass or smoked plexiglass and this and that. I figured I might as well just throw it out there and see if see what you guys come up with. So, what you're going to want to do, well, this is how I did it. I got myself a piece of 12 by 18 aluminum, just thin gauge, just enough to pretty much hold the shape of it. And I removed my face, piece right above your headlight, which this will fit behind, and took some measurements, played around with it a little bit, and what I came up with is basically what's going to happen is you want your finished piece, which is this. I'll give you the measurements and the angle of degrees and all that junk. But what's going to happen is this piece here will fit behind your faceplate in there. So basically it's going to fit like that. Okay, so if you take yours off and kind of use yours as a template along the way, it's probably going to help you a lot. As you can see, I have it fit almost down to the square spacer there, and it uses existing hardware, so you don't have to buy anything or anything like that. So, alright, with the aluminum, what you're going to want to do is get a center line all the way across it, and off of that center line your measurements are going to be on the bottom 1 1/16 over. You're going to want to put a mark. From that mark it's going to be another 1 3/4 over. You put a mark there on your flat stock. At the top you want to go over from the very top 7 1/4 will get you here, and then 1 3/4 is actually going to get you past your 18 mark a little bit, or it's actually going to bring you all the way to the edge. But I found the way it runs is going to run off a little bit. So if you basically just take this parallel, this bend parallel off of this bend, you're going to be in good shape. And then that's just going to be extra. But anyway, so that gives you your measurements and your marks. What you're going to want to do is then get your angles. The way I made my angles was basically with a vise and a couple of pieces of wood, clamped it in, kind of worked it over with another piece of wood to keep it as sharp as possible. If you have an aluminum brake, that would be perfect. So let me see if I can get the first angle here. So that looks to be about 165. Is that correct? No, wait. That's not right. Okay. I have to do a little editing at this point. So that's 0. Correct? 15 degrees. Okay, so your first bend will be a 15-degree angle from flat. Is going to be the first bend. This bend here will be 15 degrees. Make a note of that. Okay. And that will be for both sides. 15 degrees on both sides. And of course, I I gave you the measurements for one side, but that's going to translate to both sides, of course. Now, your next angle, that's 132. So that's going to be 47 degrees. About 47 degrees. Okay, so your second, this angle is going to be 47 degrees. Okay, same on this side, of course. Alright, so if you do that and you use your stock piece as a reference, you're going to come up with this. Okay, and from this point, what you're going to want to do, I'm going to use a crappy old piece of white plexiglass I had laying around, just as a reference. I'm not going to run through the whole thing with you. I'm just going to kind of give you the gist of how to do it, and it's very basic, so not a big deal. Alright, so you get your center line in your plexiglass. It's going to be a whole lot easier for you to see and clear, and you line those up. Alright, you get those lined up on your center mark, and luckily I have about 1,000 of these clamps. These things are great. What I've been doing is using a piece of wood. Now, this is kind of important. You want whatever you're using, your flat piece to clamp this down, to be very smooth, because as you're heating it, any texture that's in this is going to transfer to your plastic. So, as I said, this is just a reference, so I'm just going to use this piece of wood and line it up about a ½ inch back from where your bend is going to be. Alright, where you want your bend to be, and basically this is just going to hold everything in place and give you a starting reference or a starting point to bend from. Now, obviously, heat gun. I set mine on high heat, and you're just going to work your way, work back and forth. You can run it underneath a little bit if you have the room, just until it starts to soften up. Now I like to, let me adjust this a little bit, see if I can, without falling over. I usually like to, this is a good way to see when it starts to get soft. I just hang a clamp on the edge of it, and then as it softens, it'll start to pull it down, and that'll kind of give me an idea of how hot it is and how ready it is to do the bend. So what I do is just run it over nice and evenly till you start to see it start to flex down, and then you're just going to want to keep working it until you can sort of, kind of pull it up and down fairly easy. And at that point, you're going to want to have all the stuff ready. Your next board, nice. Your next board and your clamps, you're going to want to have ready. So as a piece falls down onto your first bend, I like to put, in order to get a nice sharp bend, I like to put another piece of wood over top of the whole thing, so that way you get a lot more even pressure and a lot straighter. And then I clamp that down, let it cool for, it doesn't take long, maybe 30 seconds or so, and you can take that off. I prefer to leave it on till I get the next bend done. That way it's holding that in place. And you're going to want to do the same thing on your next bend. Just remember to heat evenly. if you start to see, if you heat too hot, you'll get bubbles or, you know, little air bubbles and imperfections in your plexiglass. So just take your time. Don't overheat it, and if it doesn't bend quite correctly the first time, let it cool, heat it up again, see if it works. You know, it's not a tough process. If I can do it, if I figured out how to do it, you guys can do it. You know what? I wish you the best of luck. If you have any specific questions, hit me up on the forum, and please send pictures of your finished work, because I'd really be interested in seeing what everybody came up with. As for the shape of it, I guess I should address that. The shape, I was looking for a curved top, so you know, at that point you can basically, at the point after you get the whole thing bent, you can kind of go with whatever shape you like. I haven't experimented with anything too high, at least not on my bike. I do have one that I just rounded off. I'll show you in a sec. I did do one with a rounded top. As you can see, I may cut it down. I haven't used this on the bike yet. Doesn't seem quite as stable. Not sure why. I did actually add an extra spot to fasten it, which is actually behind the Speedo. But you know what? Try, check it out, see what you come up with. I'm really curious. But you know what? If you don't feel like doing it, and you feel like hitting me up for one, I don't want to go crazy and start making 1,000 of these. I don't really have the time. That's why I've kind of been so slow about the whole deal. But I do have this one, which can be cut down and probably a lot more stable after that. And then I have a flat black one. Which, as you can see, came out pretty nice. I like the, it's been wet sanded, so it's nice and smooth. Want the whole 9 yards. Haven't put it on yet, so I don't quite know. I'm going to have to get a picture because people have been asking about that too. So, again, give it a try. Good luck. Check you later.